Welcome to our third live event from the gallery, insides of the gallery. Today with Katja Ruppertz. Hello, Katja.
Hello, Priska.
How are you today?
I'm fine.
Okay, great. And today we will speak a little bit about this exhibition on Equal Terms 2, and later on we will ask Charlotte Triebus to join us. Katja, would you like to give a little tour?
Yeah, we're giving our guided tours in the show, and still going on as on Equal Terms 2. And the common thread in this show is based on the idea that art in a changing world can provide a lot of inspiration and new perspectives and new ways of thinking in a world which is marked by troubled times, and also in a more and more complex world that we are in. And there are so many high-speed developments in the globalized and digitized world that it's sometimes hard to find a balance between all these polarities, the new and the old, or the fake and the true, maybe the right and the wrong, or to find orientation. And of course, the artists cannot give us answers, but their works can refine our senses and help us or inspire us to try out new perspectives and be creative with the situations that we're in. And all the works in this show have in common, they all explore the potential of new perspectives on overcome overdue or old structures and polarities that we cannot use anymore. So we have maybe just a quick look through the show. Upstairs, Rudolf Bonvi and Astrid Klein on the walls. We will get back to all the other works in the next days. Looking forward to speaking to a lot of artists. On the floor, there's a huge sculptural installation by...
So this is the work by Rudolf Bonvi and Astrid Klein. And here on the floor we have the work by David Singhi. And here on the wall we have a work by Albrecht Schäfer. And I will show you the rest, and then Katja will continue. This is a work by Radenko Milak. These are watercolors. And further down, we have the video installation by Warren Neidig, Pizzagate. And yesterday we spoke about the work by Johanna Reich. This is here. And here on the wall.
Today we're going to have a conversation with Charlotte Triebus. She did this huge mixed media installation as a rose. And Charlotte Triebus was born in 1988. She's a performance artist and art director and photographer, and she lives in Cologne. And she studied in Cologne at the KHM, Academy of Media Arts, Fine Arts and Performance, and also the Integrated Design Program at KIST in Cologne, the Cologne International School of Design, and Dance Studies Program at the University of Music and Dance in Cologne. She received a lot of grants and very many research grants, which is quite exciting, and we're going to talk about that when we talk about the work and how. And her work is presented on a lot of festivals and exhibitions, and it's very, very exciting that she works in the intersection of dance and art and technology. So very different backgrounds come together in her work. And then we can give her a call or invite her to be.
Yeah, she's already with us, but you cannot see it exactly.
Yeah, hi.
Thank you very much for introducing me so nicely. Thank you.
Yeah. It's great that you are there, Charlotte. Fantastic to be with you today. And yeah, maybe it will be better that you see each other while you speak together.
Yeah, okay, so I
So
come on this side.
maybe it's better like this.
Yeah. But yeah, maybe before we have a closer look at the work, it's a multimedia piece made of several components and there is techniques involved. And you work together with a network called Innovation Hub. What is Innovation Hub?
Well, the Innovation Hub in Düsseldorf is the network that I'm working with, and that is basically a cooperation of 3 different institutions. One is the Research Institute of Hochschule Düsseldorf, where I am employed as an artist to investigate the potential of interaction of humans and robots. And well, I'm doing artistic research there, and then we are cooperating with 2 enterprises which are called Lava Labs and Tannagels, which are producing which are collaborating with us and which are producing different kinds of technologies. So Tannagels is basically creating media installation, well, but more in a not in an artistic way, but more in a fair way, for example. And Lava Labs is doing 3D animation. So Innovation Hub is basically a collaboration of all 3 enterprises.
This is really, really interesting. So you're working a lot together with other people.
Yes.
This could bring you back to what might have been an initial question. How can you work in these times? I mean, can you go on with a lot of stuff, or is a lot paralyzed because you cannot meet people in person? How is your possibility to work now?
It is difficult though, but well, since I'm an artist and I'm doing most of my, well, I think most of the artistic work is done in the studio or alone or with a paper or in the dance studio or whatever. So it basically for me doesn't change too much, except for that all of my meetings, all of my exchange with the technicians has to be done on the phone. So basically it doesn't change too much, but the feeling changes a lot. So it's very, very strange to keep working in this atmosphere, which is influencing way more than I thought it would.
Yeah, and your work is also a lot about interaction and involvement. So maybe we can have a closer look now and see what it's made of. We see several plants, 9 plants, hanging, suspended from the ceiling. Very fragile looking plants, very delicate leaves. And we see one of the nice light reflection on the transparent threads that it's hanging on, and a tracking system fixed to the ceiling. And all this is installed next to an LED monitor, a huge LED screen on the wall. I will walk around to see how big it is. And on the LED screen, we see a red form rotating, spinning
The microphone
around.
is on the side. Sorry.
So now I call it form. When we switched it on this morning, it was a perfect red sphere, a red ball. And now it changed because something's going on between the plants and what we see on the screen. Maybe you can have a few words on the basic.
Yes, it's actually a bit strange now to transfer this artwork into the virtual space, because normally it's meant to be working you're already using it. It's meant to be, the artwork itself is meant to be created in the moment of its use. So basically, normally every visitor is forming part of the artwork, which means normally people are moving around the plants and moving in between the plants and the screen. And the movement, so either the breath of air, but also the touch itself of the plants will transform in life, in a real time, the animation of the sphere on the LED screen. And over the course of one day, normally every impact that has been done and has been recorded on the plants is being stored or forming part of the modulation of this LED sphere of the screen.
So it's interactive because visitors take part, they are part of what's going on, and they really manipulate a part of the work, or deform, or even damage if you want, because yes, in the beginning it becomes perfect and then it's getting
Human.
But they don't realize immediately what they are doing. So that's also our experience. They walk by, pass by, and wonder what's going on, and then maybe after a while they realize that what they do has an impact on the work.
Exactly. It's actually the interesting thing is also that my background is also strongly influenced by dance and by contemporary dance, and I feel like this, for example, is an installation which is actually also a dance piece, but without dancers. So if you could actually understand the plants as sensors, or as actually as sensors that are feeling the movement of the different agents, of the different people, like of the dancers moving around. So this piece is an installation, a dance piece without dancers taking part. All the dancers are the visitors.
Yeah, and at the moment there are no visitors that are taking part in this performance anymore as well.
Yeah,
so it's just
just
us, and it was really funny already from today, because we are coming here at 10 o'clock in the morning, and there was really this round ball, and then it's only us who transformed it like this by not walking around. Everybody is on his desk and we are not moving so much. So it's really like, let's meet at 2 o'clock to start now on our conversation. So it's kind of interesting.
So it's about, when I touch the leaves, they will move, and yes, movement is detected, or if I blow or just pass by and create a little breeze. So the plants, do they act, or do they just, or are they active or passive? What's the idea behind?
Well, in this case, well, actually, for the installation, to be very honest, it's a passive installation. So it's not that the plants are detecting the movements and then actively are sending the signal to the computer. In this case, we are using a tracking system which is hanging on the ceiling and which detects the movement of the plant. So it's basically an auxiliary form.
But our imagination, of course, goes in this direction.
Exactly, and a lot of scientific research in the past years has also shown that the plants are actually actively responding to influences from the outside. The only thing is that we are now artificially making them visible. So there might be even a lot of sensory constellations inside the plants that are, well, in this case, I don't know whether they might record the exact movement and touch of the visitors for real, but they could. So there are a lot of plants that are detecting a lot of different things and have their own sensor apparatus inside of them. So basically,
one of the sense is the visual sense. So there's this tracking camera involved. And this might also remind us of a topic that we had in our conference artist talk 2 weeks ago, the surveillance, because something is watched, something is watching, but this is more complex because camera watches the movement of the leaves, the plants, but also indirectly watches our movements when we cause the movements of the plants, right? So who is watching whom?
Yes, that is a little bit also the question, since I feel that nature and plants are often also, due to religion and mysticism, they are very often understood as this very romantic image of a innocent growing thing, you know, and very often technology is set as a on the other pole, basically. So it's technology is understood as the mean surveillance thing. So I feel with this work we are moving those two parts, those two poles, a little bit further to the middle, because in this work the plant itself is getting its own agency, it's receiving its own agency, and also really it's becoming a surveillance part.
Here's a question coming in asking what plants these are and why specifically you have chosen these plants.
This is Asparagus plumosus, in German Zierspargel, Feder Zierspargel. And I have chosen this particularly because the movement of the touch, but also the movement of each breeze of air is highly visible. It looks a little bit like a feathery movement. So it's actually it's very very much suited to show the movement. And also I am there, and also I have the glatt Lederfarn, which I actually don't know how it's called in English, and I chose those plants because they are suited to survive without light and water. This was actually the reason. But the asparagus, which is the main plant that we are using, was chosen because due to its movement response.
Yeah, but we are giving water to them every day, and as you can see, when did we start this exhibition? So they have grown differently. February, some are bigger than others.
Yes, and I think actually in the light situation, I mean, in each museum, in each gallery, it's different, and the plants, thank God, they survive with a very little light. And you also have to consider that in the gallery it's quite warm, so for them it's really like a very 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 dark summer.
Yeah, we will see, and of course, because we don't know what is the planning, nobody can plan anything. So we will extend this exhibition. It will be longer than normally. We wanted to stop next week on April 8th, but I think it will far go longer than April 8th.
So let's measure how much they're growing then.
Exactly. We should have started.
I also wanted to get back to well, I would like to get back to the to techniques versus art, or maybe human versus nature or so, or your collaboration. But first, there's also poetry in it, because you quoted a famous poem by Gertrude Stein as a title, as a rose, and this is a poem from 1913 where she Gertrude Stein introduced this multi-perspective of cubism into literature. So there's another trespassing in this title.
Yeah, that's very true. It's actually quoted quite a lot. This part of her poem, also by herself, but also by different other artworks. But nevertheless, I found it very striking to use this quotation, or to allude to this quotation, since I mean the original phrase would be "rose is a rose is a rose is a rose," which is the first rose is a girl, and then it's referring to several different connotations that you could have to the image, to the metaphor of a rose. And also, again, drawing from Romanticism, a rose is a very is a symbol that is so strong that if you are, according to Gertrude Stein, if you are naming something a rose, the metaphors are stronger than the flower itself. And so this quotation of "is a rose" is basically a metaphor for different connotations that the same thing could have. And by calling this installation an installation of roses, which are obviously no roses, we are again pointing a finger on this discrepancy of a very romantic and innocent rose and the surveillance technology that we are using.
Yeah, and the red color of the sphere is also the color of love and emotions, and there we get back to a very human field. So there are so many different sciences in or backgrounds like biology and philosophy and poetry and of course art and techniques. Was it simple to find a way to work together? Did you have a common starting point, or were there difficulties in the team?
You mean with my technology?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, but I would say.
I imagine that the methods and the working processes are quite different from a scientist.
They are
tries to go a linear way, and maybe an artist who wants to try out some things.
Yes, and that is a very big. I mean, there is a big discrepancy, and it's actually a very difficult process normally, because the different the areas of work are very different, but also the process itself is very, very different, since an artistic process is growing through iterations and through maybe also throwing away an entire idea and then restarting again. And the usual way of developers, for example, is to have a very clear goal and then try to basically develop this goal, and every iteration feels like a entire restart to them, obviously, which it is also. So normally the technological development of pieces is more like a design process to many developers. But in this case, well, first of all, I work with a lot of experienced developers, but also we made it very clear that basically the art is the main decision-giving factor. So basically, one of the most important things for our work is that I am deciding. So not the design and not the technological cues that we could give are deciding, but I am deciding, and I'm taking my decisions based on the concept that I'm doing. And so the most important task for me is to communicate as clear as possible, and to also already have the concept quite done at the moment where I am starting to work with my technicians.
Oh, that sounds great. Yeah, maybe you learned a lot from each other, and maybe they learned a bit of creativity or flexibility in such a process.
Yes, I think it's a very important thing. I mean, there's big projects. I mean, I could not do it without the team, obviously. I mean, I simply could not, because there's a lot of expertise behind those works that I didn't know, that I'm not aware of. And I think one of the most important things that we are targeting is also a respect towards the other genre, more or less.
How long did you work together on this piece?
On this piece, well, it's depending, because my research is I'm doing it quite some time before I really start working. So for this piece, it was only like three months in full time, but for a group of 3 to 4 people. So me plus 3 developers. Yes, plus my research before.
And is this collaboration ending with the finishing of this installation, or are you going to do more works together?
No, we are doing more works together. So so at least for the next 2 years, we are collaborating on different projects, and right now we are also very much in the research and creation phase of the next project, which will hopefully be done or will be premiered in November.
Can you tell us a bit about this project, this current project?
Yes, of course. It's going to be a performance, more a performance and an installation than only an installation. And it's going to be a piece for dancers and 12 to, wait one second, I have it over here. 12 of those sphere robots, and it's going to take place in a museum or in an open stage, so the audience is either around or wherever they want to be, talking of museums, and those robots are moving freely like a herd of animals or robots, and the dancers are basically interacting with them and communicating and dancing with them. And they're basically going to be a little bit bigger than this one. This was the very first draft, and now it's going to be this size, but white. Yes.
So actually a lot of your works are about or are involving a movement in space and the movement of bodies, the movement of different bodies and the interaction between bodies. This is a hot topic at this moment where we cannot get close to other people as we would like.
That's
As you're a dancer, you're used to dancing with other people very closely and touching them. Maybe you can give us an insight of one of the works where you also act as a performer and as a dancer.
Yes, one piece of mine. Well, first of all, yes, the body is a very important part to my work, and not only the dancer's body, but also the own body of each visitor and of the audience, because I really feel like, not only in this times of the virus right now, but also in general, I think that people are losing their connections to their own body, and it's really cool to use art to bring them back in connection to themselves. That first of all, and then I can introduce you to a work of mine that. Wait one second, I have some pictures here. That is also an installation, a performance installation for a museum space for 2 dancers, but I am also dancing, and it's basically, it's looking like this. It's basically having a huge light ring in the center of the performance. Wait one second now. Like this, having a ring, and then 2 dancers that are very closely dancing and kind of fighting against each other, with each other, and each touch and each way of touching is actually it's influencing on the light situation and on the sound situation. So
and how's the connection between your contact and the light?
So we have actually 3 impacts apart from the 2 dancers. So we have 2 dancers, and then we are having the circle and the sound installation and the live video installation. And all of those 3 impacts, so the video, the sound, and the light, are reacting on the touch. And in the light part, it's quite easy. It's very linear. So the stronger you touch, the stronger the touch of the 2 bodies is, the brighter the light shines. And with the audio, it's like that basically the stronger you touch, well, no, the strength of the touch is influencing on which sound pattern we are hearing, and then there's also influencing on how fast you're touching, and also how long you're holding the touch. So if you are in the very, very strongest phase, touching each other very strongly for a very, very long time, then you're hearing some kind of story that is told over the speakers. But that is also depending on how long you're holding up the touch. I can show you a little bit more images. So you can also see you're seeing the light piece, and here you can see I was doing a short improvisation with some visitors. You can see that the sensors are hidden in rings that we are wearing and having a very thin cable.
Yeah, and the cables. Yeah.
There you can see the cables. Many people don't see it actually, but here we are pointing a little bit fingers and you can see it.
So also your radius of movement was confined by these cables, so you could not move everywhere, but in a certain space.
Yeah, well, that's a little bit limited. Although we have quite quite some radius. I think we have 15 meters in total. So that's quite a lot of space, and since normally there are quite some visitors, you don't even. I mean, it's more limited with the visitors than with the cable. But the thing is that if you are not paying attention to the cable and then fighting a little bit, and like knotted like cats fighting with a wool, because it's just the cable, it keeps like around the other person.
But if it's a fight or a tender, strong contact, the system would not distinguish, right? So it's just the intensity for good and for bad.
Exactly. The system distinguishes the intensity. So if you are, I mean, it's depending a little bit on the body, like, intention actually, because you can also seem to be very tender and very like soft, but still have very strong grab, of course. But in a fight, you tend to have stronger and faster attacks and movements, and then also really the touch would be longer. So I think there is a difference, and it's also having an impact on the sound and on the video as well. With the light, not so much.
Yeah, great work. I mean, a lot of people were really amazed by the poetry of it, but also by the complexity of the idea behind.
Thank you.
Charlotte, how is your current situation? You are in Cologne at the moment. You are at home. You are in your studio. You are not going outside. What? You are meeting people. You're not meeting people.
Well, I am mainly at home, mainly working from home, and I am trying to brief my team and to keep updated with my team via phone and Skype. Since part of my team is right now doing the mechanics of the robots, of the sphere robots, so they are in the lab. They are actually really in the lab creating. So I'm trying to stay updated via phone and via Skype. And if there would be the situation that I would need to come in order to take a decision or something, I would also go outside. But right now we are really trying to work like lonely at each place. So I'm really trying to not meet anybody work-wise. Although sometimes, like every 2 days, something, I'm taking a walk.
Yeah. And do you have a terrace or a balcony or a garden?
I have a balcony. Yes, I'm super thankful for that
great,
right now. Yes, and it's even in the sun during my coffee break at afternoon. So actually, I'm quite lucky in comparison to other people. Yeah.
It's like Magritte painting. Huh? It's so surreal. It's so beautiful outside. The sky is so blue, and it's so cold at on the other side here in Cologne. It's really very strange situation.
I'm looking at this situation right now. I will show you in a second. Look here.
Ah, that's nice. Yeah.
And it's really, really cool. But I'm not allowed to go outside, which makes it very weird. And this also, I don't know, I feel like everything is so tense outside.
Yeah, you see our blue sky from here.
Exactly, but it looks forbidden. It's a little bit strange.
Yeah, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, great, great. In terms of exhibition, how have you been affected? Is there a lot of things that are postponed or that are cancelled? So I know of one we wanted to do a performance with you here, which we are not able to do now.
No, but later on I'm gonna do that later on.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes and no, because I was this spring and summer I was invited to do a lot of talks. So a lot of like talks, conferences, and those kind of gatherings, and all of them, well, either they are cancelled or they are postponed, which I think they are all going to be cancelled actually, because I don't know how conferences are going to create another conference on top of themselves. So I don't see that coming right now. So a lot has been cancelled. Of my performances, yes, there has been cancelled something, but the most important parts for fall and for next for the end of this year, actually, they are still up. So I don't know. I really don't know. For now, I try to pretend as if everything would be still taking place, and I try to prepare as good as I can. But I don't.
What do you think about showing now art online? We were speaking a little bit in preparation of this talk about it. It's not nice, huh?
It's, well, I don't know. I am, you know, I love physicality.
Exactly.
And I really, really like people also to feel themselves. So right now, I mean, I don't see any reason for showing art online like we used to do in galleries, as long as we are not developing a new way of how to engage with people physically. Because, for me right now, it's different to sit on my own sofa and talk to you and know that people are watching. I mean, I'm physically another person now than if I would stay on the stage. So it would be very interesting to explore a little bit the potential and maybe create or have an idea of something that is, I don't know, that is having some kind of benefit online.
Yeah.
But I don't know yet. I really don't know. It's really strange. And
so for me, it's very important always. I was speaking about this effect that if you are in a space, in a room, and you have art on the wall, and maybe you change it, then you go through the space, then your body feels differently. So it's really something that goes into our body. And I experienced this a lot when I started my gallery in 2000. It was in my home. And so it was a huge space, and every 6 weeks we had a new exhibition there. So my home was completely changed, and my body completely changed all 6 weeks. And therefore, I'm thinking it's very important as well today, in these times, to think about what it means to have art surrounding you.
But it's very cool that you're saying that your home is changing, because I actually, this is an effect that I really, really love in a museum, because normally people are entering a gallery space, a museum, and they bring time. That's the most important thing. They have suddenly time, although it's only half an hour or something, but they have time to perceive something. But there is some kind of journey, a dramaturgical journey in a gallery or in a museum that is changing something body-wise and perception-wise. I don't know how we could recreate this feeling online. I don't see it, because I mean, there's no need to put on makeup, to change, to dress up, there's no need to go through this process, because you basically could just shut your computer and then everything would be gone. So there would need, I don't know, I actually feel that should be some kind of movement involved, but I mean, we cannot force force people to walk in circles in their living room, that would be strange. And a colleague of mine, she was actually investigating the potential of VR exhibition pieces, and this is a little bit the same. I'm I'm very skeptical towards that, although I'm working a lot with technology, but I feel like people are having a different um, uh, connection with their own body in the second they put on those VR glasses, because they are losing a little bit of their own connection. And it's very difficult to establish the same impact, to establish the same perception of their own body the moment they're putting on the glasses. And I feel like there is a little bit of parallel, and I don't know yet how to target that.
Maybe when we continue here the series to be daily in the gallery, it's online talks, and we did once an exhibition, Reset 3, which was curated by Tina Sauerländer, and she is the specialist in virtual reality. And maybe we should make a talk with her these days as well, and
Definitely.
see what's her opinion about it.
Definitely, because I think now we are a little bit forced also to find a way. But it's also a great opportunity, because I'm not really convinced to simply transferring a real life gallery into a virtual space. I think we need to add something. And maybe if it's just, you know, those applications, Johanna was talking about that yesterday, that you have those limitations online, you know, that you're only allowed to use social media, like, I don't know, 10 minutes or something a day. Maybe I don't know, but if there would be an application that would prevent you from using other stuff in the internet meanwhile you would be watching the gallery, or something that kind of like channels you inside. I don't know, it's actually a little bit stupid, but something, you know, that helps you to have the same calmness and experience in seeing art, in perceiving art online.
We will see. But when we had this exhibition here, this Reset 3 exhibition, that was I think the most communicative exhibition we ever had, you know, because when you do these virtual things, then you speak so much with the people, and it's so much about communicating together or experience the things together, which is you know, it's a need to speak about what you are seeing and to share your experience. And Katja was really speaking a lot to every visitor that was coming, and they were at least here in this space for 2 hours to experience everything what we had up here. So it's it's not possible just not to meet, you know.
No, that's very true. That's true. It's actually, there is a lot of potential. There is a lot of potential which maybe has not been explored so